Welcome to this ChannelX Leaders interview. Delighted to be joined by Niels today from ChannelEngine. So, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, all fine. It's a nice weather here in Spain today.
Excellent. So, for those that don't know you, who are you, and how did you end up at ChannelEngine, and what do you do there?
Yeah, so I'm Niels Floors, VP of Strategic Development within ChannelEngine. Been with ChannelEngine now for about 5 years, and actually, since my beginning at ChannelEngine, I set up the entire global partnership and sales organization. And when we started scaling, we saw that there was, let's say, silos being created within a company, right? As every company has that. So with that, I changed my role, and as I know the entire company in and out, it helps me to, let's say, set up strategic teams for the projects that make sense for us for now and for, let's say, the past next 5 years. So that's my role. I look at new regions, strategic alliances, some of our enterprise clients, so anything that needs attention from someone from our management team.
Fantastic. And can you give us an overview of ChannelEngine and kind of how does it help brands and retailers to operate their businesses, grow and expand? And it sounds exciting if you're constantly looking at new regions.
It is. That's also why I think it's most exciting, because right, Channel Engine, it's a marketplace management suite, right? We connect with over 950 sales channels worldwide in 195 countries. So that's well, a lot.
That's
And
just
well,
about the whole world.
just about the whole world. But integration is not everything, right? You also need to know the regions, know the dynamics, make sure that you can localize in those regions. Otherwise, you won't be successful. So that's why we have the automation, but we also have a huge partnership ecosystem that helps you sell, manage, and optimize on those marketplaces locally. And we like to, let's say, cover that in, let's say, four pillars. One, right, we have the integration to all these marketplaces pre-built. So it's plug and play. You can enable them with your business teams, no need for IT. There's a lot of automation optimization tools within Channel Engine. Of course, we enabled an AI in there. And the important part is you need to integrate all of this into your backend systems. So, right, make sure that your ERP system, order management systems, PIM systems, whatever systems you use for your base information is fully integrated with our systems. So we also have invested a lot in those integrations in our backend. And I think that one of the unique things we just launched last year is we also have a tailored solution, not just for 3P sellers, but now also for the vendor side of the house, right? 1P. Because we see a lot of brands, they got stuck in the hybrid motion, right? Moving from vendor to
Yeah.
seller and then, well, stopped halfway and now in that hybrid motion. So we saw that we needed a tool that's going to cater to that. And we do that for, well, notable clients like Unilever, Nestle, Philips, Sonos, and a lot more of those global brands, but also regional brands. So it's a healthy mix there.
That's fantastic. And I want to look, a lot of our audience are UK based. How does ChannelEngine support UK brands that want to grow within the UK?
Yeah, so well, we'll get into the cross-border part in a bit later, but I think the main part is that right, we have all the local channels in the UK as well, right? We are a European integration solution, but UK was one of our focus regions because everybody wanted to enable UK channels at that time. So we have a good coverage in the channels, right? I mean, Amazon, OnBuy, Debenhams, Zalando, all those channels are all connected, and a lot more, of course. Um, the operational automation. So right, we make sure that you can sync your inventory, stock, pricing over all these channels and have the tools to boost your visibility. So right, making sure that you really have control over your content over all these sales channels, because that's initially what you need, right? Take control.
And how does ChannelEngine then help UK brands to expand internationally? Because 190 countries, 900 marketplaces, um, international expansion has got to be a goal for any retailer of scale in 2025.
Yeah, I think if you're staying within your borders, you're losing a huge opportunity, right? And I think there's also a fun fact about UK brands. As I said, I travel around the world. I talk to marketplaces, partners, sellers all around the world. And the first thing, actually, when I talk to marketplaces and sales channels in other regions, is they all want to talk about how can we target UK brands? Because somehow they find the UK an interesting cross-border solution, and especially the brands that are there locally. So they're all looking into setting up, let's say, logistical uh, lanes to get enter into new regions, right? We speak to US marketplaces, but also in the Middle East, actually. There's a lot of UK interest, UK brand interest there.
Yeah, made in
So
Great Britain still has a cachet, doesn't it? That people around the world they want British goods.
yeah, I knew it before I started traveling and started talking to all these marketplaces there. But yeah, it is the case. So that's, I think, also shows the opportunity, right? So we have the global marketplace access. So just like we do have the local coverage in marketplaces, we have the 950 channels in any region in the world. So whichever channel fits your strategy and fits your brand, we can enable for you. We have localization and compliance tools, right? Making sure that you have currency conversion, tax compliance, localized content can be set up. Cross-border logistics, I think that's the most important part of all of it. One of the things that we ran into early on was the limitation that brands had to be able to do direct consumer logistics cross-border into new regions. And that's actually when we invested in our partnership network to make sure that we have a global logistics ecosystem. So wherever you want to sell in the world, we have the automation, but you also have a partner that can help you get that first mile and last mile leg set up. And all of
But
this without real heavy IT lifting, right? Because that's the thing here. You want to have one integration, and then after that, you want to give the business control to get into new regions, grow, and look into optimization.
so I think excuse me, no one's in doubt that they want to expand to more marketplaces, whether it be domestically in their home territory or whether it be globally around the world. But we all know that the more marketplaces you take on, the bigger the challenges get because they all operate slightly differently. So, what are some of the biggest challenges brands face selling on marketplaces? But more importantly, how does ChannelEngine help these brands overcome the challenges and find success?
Yeah. Well, I think that you started with the first, good point is, right, multiple marketplaces. When adding more and more marketplaces, it adds more complexity. And well, if you don't have anything in place to automate it, it's also going to have to add more and more team members to be able to manage those channels. And that's not really a scalable model, right? So managing multiple marketplaces without needing to grow your team, I think that's what you want to achieve here. Um, and on all these channels, as you said, they all have their own dynamics. They all have their own SLAs, and they all have their own content structures set up. So you need to adhere to that. So, right, keeping control of your content and making sure that you analyze the content over all these channels in a scalable way, of course, that's what you need. Well, we have two tools. We have those tools for that, right? So we have a centralized system that can monitor all your channels and activate all those channels without having to grow your team. But the next thing is there's competition on these channels, right? There's a huge opportunity. There's a lot of let's say consumers that are buying because it's the starting point of every customer journey these days is marketplaces. So need to be there, but you're not the only one, all right? You have competition from your local competitors, but also cross-border competitors. Especially, of course, you see a lot coming in from China these days on these channels. So staying ahead of the competition is also one, right? Winning the buy boxes, but don't want to have a price war to the bottom. You also want to have a profitable business on these channels, making sure that you keep the control on your pricing and profitability there. And I think the last one, that's the biggest one, is keeping the speed and agility within the organization, right? Trends are going to be popping up everywhere. New marketplaces are popping up in every region. New sales channels, right? Like social commerce and other sales channels are also popping up in every region. So having that speed and agility to be able to adapt a new channel when it pops up, and it also fits your strategy, and you want to also use it to really grow your revenue, that's the thing that you want to have, right? Having that speed, not going back to your IT teams, but just making sure that you can just add a new channel, go for it, adopt it, and grow your revenue on those channels.
And while you're doing this with ChannelEngine, what role does automation play in marketplace success? I mean, how automated can you get nowadays? Can you just press a button and a channel magically is enabled, or can listings be optimized for channel? And does AI play a part in this automation?
Yeah, we're getting there to all of that. No, it's yes. So the I think the golden bullet would be right. Click on a button and you're live on a channel. But unfortunately, these channels, right, they do require you to adopt their, as I said, content structures, their flows, and make sure that you also adhere to their SLAs. So with that, you have to really focus on five key flows. That's right, inventory management, making sure that your inventory is synced over all channels. Dynamic pricing and pricing tools, making sure that your pricing is also competitive, but also that you are profitable on all these channels. Content optimization, make sure that the content is set up correctly. So you do need to set that up. In that part, I think it's most complex to get onto marketplaces. And that's also where we integrated AI, right? Making sure that we look into your content structure that, or a content structure that a brand has, and we then do categorization with AI. So making those AI assumptions and connecting them in the tool. And now we're going a step further into also doing AI mapping, making sure that that everything will then well almost automatically, right? That's the goal essentially in some time from now. Your content structure will match the content structure of the marketplace automatically, and it's really developing quickly. And let's say it's I think the way to go there. Once you're live, all your channels are active, content is connects to the channel. Then of course you need to make sure your full order flows are set up, so order fulfillment, so that you adhere to those SLAs as I mentioned earlier, and you keep let's say also adapt the flows of the marketplace to your own flows, because well, change management and changing processes within an organization is not the easiest thing if they're used to doing it in a certain way. And the last one, having reporting and analytics set up, right? Knowing your numbers, right? Having actionable insights real time to be able to adjust accordingly to those statistics. So in this, and I think if you have all this set up correctly, right, and this you need this, and this is what can be done with automation, you can speed up your process, optimize, and as I said, get your business teams focusing on growth and not thinking of what all the things that can be automated away. And I think a big impact here, I think if you look at one of our big global brands here, they had this issue early on. They did about one channel a year that they could really manage, activate, because there was so much compliance issues also within the organization.
Mm.
And then they went to adding 24 channels in 1 year over 5 regions with the same team. So it's let's say automation is I think the key pillar here, and why not use it if it's there?
Yeah, automation to execute. I know businesses struggle just to add one channel a year to do it properly. So doing 24 with automation is amazing with the same team.
Yeah.
Now, I want to take a bit of a wider view and ask you, Niels, what trends do you see shaping the marketplace landscape in 2023? And I mean, I'm thinking back to the beginning of the year, and so much happened just in the first month. The US had a new president, but still needed to decide what was going to happen with TikTok Shop in the US. Then tariffs on China, which is undoubtedly going to impact Temu. I mean, USPS even stopped accepting parcels for China for 24 hours before they started again. And that's just the US in month one. So what are you seeing for the rest of 2025?
Yeah, so I think yeah, it's a dynamic market, right? There's a lot happening, and that's because I think that, or let's say the main thing is right. marketplace is going to stay #1 shopping destination. And marketplace in a broader sense, right? So you have the traditional marketplaces, but actually, let's say social commerce channels, right? Like TikTok, they are also like marketplace, right? They adopt the same models. It's just a different type of channel that's leveraging it. So there's nothing going to change here. I think what we do see is that there's more and more competition coming from marketplaces from other regions. So they're expanding into new regions, right? We see, for example, Trendyol from Turkey, right? They're expanding into Europe. They're going into the Middle East. They're going to look into more channels, right? We saw Shine, right? Also going into new regions, now also looking into getting local sellers in those regions on their platform, not only Chinese offering there. So cross-border marketplaces entering new regions and being a competitive player in those regions, I think that's something that we're going to see more and more. So yeah, the local heroes should not sit still, and they need to adapt to that and make sure that they keep their competitive edge there. Um, Besides the main trends, I see AI-driven selling, right? So you do see automated pricing, forecasting, personalization taking place, a big one. Cross-border e-commerce growth, right? Multi-country selling is essential, I think, because otherwise, right, you're not going to grow your revenue. I mean, with that, yeah, a lot of markets, let's say, they are already saturated, or let's say the competition is huge, right? So looking into those more new markets. A real one that we see is, of course, and you saw this, well, I think the past year as well, but you're seeing it more and more that with the big brands going D2C, and the importance of it, right? They are taking control. So, right, retailers or wholesalers, they need to keep their competitive or their value add within the retail chain, or let's say brands will take over there. And that's what we see all over the world happening. And the last one, and that also connects to those brands, is when going cross-border, there's a marketplace first approach, right? Because all of the consumers are already on those channels, you see that brands, wholesalers, or whoever's going D2C to a new region, they're not starting their own e-commerce shops anymore as a first go-to. They're going marketplace first, setting up that business case internally, seeing, let's say, hey, there's an opportunity here, and then, well, even then they choose, do we need a D2C e-commerce shop? But then they're investing in it. So you see the whole entire shift take place. So from where it was in the past, there was a traditional retail store to an e-commerce shop to marketplaces. Now it's marketplaces, e-commerce shop, and then maybe even a retail shop if they want it for their customer experience there.
So total change. Now, looking back to the UK, what's your advice for UK brands really looking to maximize their marketplace potential in 2025?
Yeah, so there's well a lot, of course, that you can do, but well, let's start with my first one, and that's always right, making choices in what you invest into, right? The first one is right, treat marketplace as your core channels, right? It's not a side hustle. It should be, let's say, deeply ingrained within your entire e-commerce strategy. So making sure that you at least have someone that's, well, at least one person that's responsible for it. And depending on how you grow, let's say that you have a team supporting. Make a strategic marketplace selection. So, right, where we saw in the past that just going on that we saw retailers going on every marketplace that was out there, that's not a strategy anymore. It's right. You're not going to be able to do it, and you're going to, well, still trying. So choose the channels that really fit your brand, focus on them, build a strategy around them, and build a team around them. And that's how you're going to be winning on the selected channels. It is important, of course, to diversify, right? Make sure you reduce your risk by spreading your risk over multiple channels, because the consumers are also going to be searching on channels that they expect your brands will be on. So make sure you are active on the channels that you need to be on. Well, it speaks for itself that, of course, invest in automation, right? If you
Yeah.
don't automate, you're not going to be able to scale to the levels, and then you're going to come to a point that you're going to reach your limits, and or you're going to lose control, right? That's one or the other there. And the last one, I think this is an important one. Make sure I mean, it's hard because, right, not all marketplaces give you all the data that you want, but all the data that is accessible, use it to make, or let's say, use it in your advantage, and to make data-driven, smart decisions where to double down on.
Amazing. Now, Niels, I want to thank you so much for your time today. But before I let you go, if someone wants to find out more about how ChannelEngine can help them automate and power marketplaces, and I doubt they're going to go on all 900, but maybe there's a sort of a 10 or 20 around the world that they should really hit. How do they get hold of you? How do they find out more about ChannelEngine?
Well, of course, go to channelengine.com. There you can find our marketplace overview. So you can also make a selection and see which marketplace fits you. Get in touch with our team because then you can, of course, they can make an advice for you and also help you with a strategy forward. So those are the main key factors. And of course, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll connect you with the right people within ChannelEngine.
Yeah, and we'll put the link for you below this video. But Niels, thank you so much.
Thank you.